Mishnah Daled.
Is 20?
Yeah. 20th chapter, Mishnah Daled. We are continuing with the laws of Muktzeh. Pretty much. גורפים את האבוס בשבת לנקותו מן הפסולת. You're allowed to clean the hay or the feed of the animals in Shabbat, to clean it from the bad stuff. Let's take an example. You've got some hay on the ground and it's full of there's mud. So you can take a magrefa, you can take a rake and move it so that the mud falls, by the way. Yeah, it's all called boirer. Think about the same way. You know what you should think about? You take out a piece of celery on Shabbat and it has dirt on it. It's dirty from the ground. So you go to the sink and you wash it. Yeah, same idea over here.
You're not eating the hay.
You're feeding it. So there's no difference between you and the animal. The animal you don't want the animal to eat the sand. Same thing over here. Yeah. Milifnei hapatam. So you do it, but you don't do it overall in the entire area. You do it from in front of the animal that you are feeding. Patam is the animal you make fat. Before you sell them, usually you feed them regular feed. You feed them whatever they eat from the ground. But like 3 months before the sale, you start feeding them expensive stuff so they will become fat and zeu. So then, because you get paid by the pound, then it gets better. So that's the same. They did the same. לפני הפתם, השור שמפטמים אותו, the bull that you give him extra food, שלא תתערב הפסולת שנשארה באבוס, because you don't want the dirtiness that remained in the hay, בתבן ובשעורים שנותנים עכשיו לפניו. The dirt, you don't want it mixed with all the good stuff, all the good feed that you're giving him in front of him right now. ויקוץ השור במאכלו, says, what are you worried? The bull is not going to eat that much. If it's have a lot of dirt in it, he's going to eat a little bit, you're going to lose money. So that's the idea.
So it's not that you're not just supposed to keep him alive on Shabbos. If you're fattening him up, you want to fatten him up still on Shabbos. It sounds weird.
What do you mean?
What do you mean keep him alive?
On Shabbos you would feed him a normal meal. What he's normally eating. But this is like for getting him ready for slaughter.
Yeah, usually you have to think. Usually you don't feed him. He grazes. Over here, it's you feed him. So he says you're allowed to feed him the good stuff. You don't have to give him stuff that is not going to do.
Like you have to eat good stuff on Shabbos. You don't eat garbage.
Right? It's the same thing with your celery. Why do you wash it?
Not to eat the dirt.
No, but we have to. It's a mitzvah for us to eat.
Also the bull, it's a mitzvah for you to feed him.
To feed him, but this is for fattening him, not for just his normal grazing.
True, but
he can go out there and
that's his food.
No, but he can go out there and graze in the field, the normal.
Yeah, but this
is specifically for fattening him.
Yeah, I'm not sure that it makes much of a difference. Okay. If you want to give him a hay in a regular Shabbos, even without fattening, I think you're still allowed to do it.
Right.
Yeah, it doesn't mean just because you're fattening him.
That's what I'm trying to get, is the intention.
No, it's not just because of it. It's any case. When you feed your animals, any animals, chickens, even not for fattening purposes.
Separate the stuff.
That's right. I don't think it means just for fattening. Right. Gives an example. ומסלקים לצדדים, and you're allowed to move to the side, מסלקים את התבן שלפני הפתם, you're allowed to move the hay that's in front of this animal, כשהוא מרובה, when it is too much, לצדדים, you move it to the sides, מפני הראי. In other words, you don't want him to make it dirty when he goes to the bathroom over it, so after he eats a little bit, you move it to the side, so it's not going to go on his food. שלא יתנפו בצואתו. You don't want it to get dirty in his poo-poo. ויש מפלקים ומסלקים לצדדים מפני הראי. Some explain it. What do you mean? You move it to the side because of the excrement? כלומר שמלפני שור הראי, היינו שור המראה, שאינו מפונק כל כך כמו שור הפתם. So it says there's two kinds of bulls. There's a bull that you keep on eat everything. And then there's a bull who's more refined. You have to give him good stuff. For example, I'm sure that at your some horses exactly
cows are special, they eat.
Very good. So you've got the horses eat almost anything. The pony eats.
The goats eat anything.
Yeah,
plastic.
Exactly. So that's the idea.
Yeah.
So it says, אין גורפים את האבוס בשבת לגמרי, אלא מסלקים את הפסולת לצדדים. In other words, the question is, what do you take out? Do you take the hay out of the poo-poo, or do you take the poo-poo out of the hay?
So you take the poo-poo.
Yeah, two ways to look at it. Yeah. דברי רבי דוסה, everything we said up to now, this is the words of Rabbi Dosa. Rabbi Dosa says you're allowed to move the hay, you're allowed to move the whole thing. וחכמים אוסרים, but the rabbis says you're not allowed to do any of the things. Let's see why. בשני הדברים, in two things, בין לגרוף מלפני הפתם, ובין לסלק את הצדדים פני הראי. It says in both cases, you're not allowed to do it, to clean it out of dirt and to clean it from the doo-doo, whichever way. If you're taking the hay or you're taking the doo-doo, we don't allow you. בגמרא אמרו, in the Gemara they explain, what's their disagreement? שלא נחלקו רבי דוסה וחכמים, אלא באבוס של כלי. It says like this. There's two kinds of trough that they have. There's a trough, a place where the trough you say?
Trough.
A trough. There's a trough that's built into the ground, and then there's a trough that's a vessel. It's like a box, a big box. Like a coffin that you put the stuff inside. It says, everybody agrees that if the trough is on the ground, like built into the ground, you just put boards and the ground is over there, you're not allowed to move anything from this trough. You have to leave the hay exactly where it is, don't move. Why? Because we already have a rule, if you remember, that when you clear the barn, don't clear the entire barn. You remember, because again you can see holes, and you might just subconsciously go like this to smooth the holes. So that's the trough that's in a barn, that's on the ground, which everybody, even Rabbi Dosa admits, you're not allowed to move anything over there, in that kind of trough. What Rabbi Dosa is talking about, a trough that is a kli. It's a vessel, it's a big coffin.
Well, both of them are vessels, no?
No, the other one is always the ground. It's just 3 walls or 4 walls, but the ground is the ground in the field.
Oh, like a box.
Like in a box. That's right. And the other one, the ground is that's right.
It's hang up more.
That's right. One is a vessel.
It doesn't have a bottom.
That's right. One is a vessel, one is built in. Think of it this way. So if it's a vessel, it says, Rabbi Dosa says, I agree with you that if it's built into the ground, you're not allowed to do any of these things. But I'm saying, when are you allowed to do this? The trough that I'm talking about is the trough that's a box. You're allowed to do it. Chachamim are going to say, no, even in that you're not allowed to do, because once I let you do it in this one, you'll think that you're also in the other one. So they're arguing, actually Chachamim and Rabbi Dosa agree that you're actually allowed to do it. Chachamim are just afraid that once you get used to do this one, you might go. Let's read inside. בגמרא אמרו שלא נחלקו רבי דוסה וחכמים אלא באבוס של כלי. The whole argument is if it's a vessel. אבל באבוס של קרקע, but if the trough connects to the ground, אף רבי דוסה מודה שאסור לגרפו. Even Rabbi Dosa says you're not allowed to do anything in that such kind of trough. שמא ישווה שם גומות, because maybe you're going to see some holes and you're going to smooth it. ברם חכמים גוזרים באבוס של כלי משום אבוס של קרקע. Chachamim says, once it looks the same, it says, all you see from the outside is the 4 walls. Who knows, what's in the ground. Once I let you do it in these 4 walls, you say, hey, that 4 walls is exactly the same as these 4 walls.
Why don't they say any avus that have a bottom? You can do it because you're not going to ashvot gumot. And any kli that doesn't have that it's on the floor, you can't do it. Because
They
what
say
they
it-
want to do is the flattening of the
Yeah,
karka.
they say the way, usually the Mishnah talks the way people used to live. And this is, there's two kinds
That's
of
how
troughs.
they did it.
There's trough that was a vessel and a trough that's in the ground. So that's
It's not,
yeah. I don't think they're trying to, don't read too much behind it.
Okay.
So from this, they're saying that what we talked about in the beginning, that you can't separate stuff.
That's right. Chacham said you can't separate anything. I don't care which kind of trough you cannot separate. In both troughs.
Even if the cow is not going to eat good food.
That's right. You're not allowed to separate. We're afraid that the separation may cause you to, not because of the food so much. It's because of you're afraid you're going to flatten it. Even in a case where you're not going to come to flatten it because there's a bottom. Even then we're not going to let you. The Chachamim says. Rabbi Dosa says in a case where there's a bottom, I will allow you to do it.
You can still take good food and put it on top so they can eat.
Yeah, we discussed this. We're going to discuss this soon, I think. והלכה כחכמים, and the law is like the sages. נוטלים מלפני בהמה זו, you're allowed to take food from in front of this kind of animal. נוטלים מאכל מתוך האבוס של בהמה זו, you're allowed to take from a trough of one animal, the food. ונותנים לפני בהמה זו בשבת, and you're allowed to put it in front of another animal on Shabbat, from one trough to another trough. You're allowed to move.
Here it doesn't say another one, it says before that one.
Yeah.
The same one?
No, different one. There's no point to take from one.
No, maybe you take it on Thursday.
No.
Whereas
It means on
Shabbos-
Shabbat itself. On Shabbat. You have to take from one trough in front of one animal and put it in front of a different animal. ואין זה טלטול שלא לצורך. And we said on Shabbat, we don't let you work extra work that you're not supposed to do. It says this is not considered to be extra work you're not supposed to do. What does it mean? שאין בהמה קצה במאכל הניטל מלפני חברתה. Because one animal, it's not like people. You know, one animal doesn't care to eat the food of another animal. So you're allowed to do that. בגמרא מבואר, in the Gemara it explains, it says, don't jump to conclusions so fast, the Gemara explains. What's this Mishnah? I know it looks strange, but I'll explain it. שנותנים לפני החמור ונותנים לפני השור וכיוצא בזה. It says, you're allowed to take in front of the donkey and put it next to the bull. You're allowed to take from a donkey and put it to the bull. But you won't be allowed to take from the bull and put it to the donkey. He says, what's the difference? You're going to ask, what's the difference? אבל אין נוטלים מלפני השור כדי לתנאי לפני החמור. But you're not allowed to take in front of something from the bull and give it to the donkey. It says, what's this thing? It says, לפי שמאכל השור מסואב ברירים היוצאים מפיו. It says, because donkeys, when they eat, it's clean. It doesn't have all kinds of moisture coming out of his nose. But the bull has all kinds of spit. So if you're going to take the food from the bull and you're going to give it to the donkey is not going to eat it. It's disgusting for him. But you can take the food from the donkey and give it to the bull. In other words, once you grabbed the food from the donkey, now you don't have anybody to give it to. So he says, why are you moving it? You're not allowed to move it. The food for the donkey you're allowed to move because somebody else is eating it. That's the difference.
You can move it for
an eat. That's right. Over here, it's not
going to be food.
It's not going to be food. That's right. That's disgusting. Even the donkey doesn't eat it. He doesn't like the thing. ואין החמור אוכל ממנו. The donkey is not going to eat from it. הילקח טלטול שלא לצורך הוא. Therefore, it's considered to be moving, and it's not necessary because anyway, it's not food anymore. It becomes disgusting. So over here, we see that you can move the food as long as the next animal is going to be eating it. But if the next animal is not going to be eating it, you're not allowed to move the food. Finished.